Hello and welcome to A Cup of Conversation on BRT2 TV. I'm your host, John Guzzi, and this week in the studio I have an old friend back as a guest. He was here and I was listening to him chatting with Denise, my radio angel and main event presenter on the radio, and it was October 2015, is that right?
That's right, Jan. Already time flies when you're having fun, as they say, but it was that long ago, October 2015, so it's a pleasure to be back and to see you, of course, and Denise.
Yes, fantastic. So welcome to the studio to D.U. Sivri, who is my guest on the programme today, and we have his book, the latest book out now in his series of books that will help everyone. You don't have to be involved with the topic in particular, but listen to our interview, very informative, very interesting. And first of all, Sivri,
yes.
For those who didn't catch our interview a year and a half ago,
yes,
let's find out more about you. Now, I know that you are Turkish Cypriot, and like me, you were from London or originally from the UK.
That's right, yes. My parents are both from Cyprus, and actually back in the day my father was in the British Army, and then that's why he went to settle in England. And when he went to get married, came back and met my mother, etc., settled in London like so many Cypriots. And then I came along into the world, grew up in East London in Hackney, and spent many interesting years there before I moved on myself. I studied and worked in a number of countries actually, but that's my background, where I'm originally from.
And I think you were saying to Denise that your parents are from Paphos, or?
Yes, originally both from the Paphos area, which is a very beautiful area, but as you know, since the divide, you know, that's on the south side now. But I went there quite a few times when I was younger, and also after the partition. And a very beautiful area, and as you know, Aphrodite, the goddess of love, originates from the Paphos area, from the Sea of Paphos. She rose allegedly.
Allegedly. And so are you now the man of love Dr. Love?
Dr. Love. You can call me Dr. Love. Yeah.
Now you are a doctor.
Yes,
you are
psychologist.
Psychotherapist?
Psychotherapist, yes. It's the same thing. With the therapy side, it's more to do with actually trying to change people's perceptions of themselves. With a lot of psychology or clinical psychology, it's more drug-based, and psychiatry as well. But I like to work with changing people's perceptions and ideas, hence the therapy side. So I call myself a psychotherapist, although of course, you know, if people do need medication, I can recommend it to them. But I work mostly with cognitive behavioural therapy, which is about changing your perceptions and beliefs of yourself, your environment, the world around you, and of other people. So it's really important actually, everything starts in the mind. You've got to work with people in that respect.
It is very interesting, and I have to ask, I mean, how does a young man growing up in the east of London in the UK with a Turkish background end up as a psychotherapist or into psychology? I mean, it's not something that we, as Turkish Cypriots, I know this is probably very, generalising too much, but it's not really a career that a lot of people have gone into. You know, it could be general medicine if you're interested in medicine.
Very true.
But psychology isn't something that really we are known for. Although we do like to talk a lot as Turkish Cypriots.
Absolutely right. You're 100% right there. We're not really known for that. I'd say some other cultures probably are, but not our particular one. And I think what it was as well was seeing a lot of Cypriots growing up actually as well, which I didn't mention earlier to Denise, but seeing their struggles in London, you know, being in a new place, the language, the culture, and not just the Cypriots, but a lot of my friends came from different backgrounds growing up in the East End. You know, a lot of my friends were of African origin, Pakistani origin, and seeing the difficulties and struggles different cultures and different peoples went through back in the 70s, especially in the 80s, made me try to analyse people more. I always used to work out why people think like that. And also what was interesting, which I didn't mention, was that my parents had a shop, so every day we'd have hundreds of people come in. And I try and analyse people and work them out from their body language and their eye movements and their behaviour. So I think for me it was quite innate that meeting hundreds and hundreds of people all the time, that I started to work them out and try to get into their minds and see which ones were good people or bad people, and then work to help people. As I said earlier and last time, for me it was about helping people really. Everyone came to me with their problems and I always tried to help them, and so it was quite natural for me to move on in that respect.
Funny enough, I mean, I had a similar background because my parents had a sub-post office in South London.
Right.
So we had a shop as well, like a post office in the shop. And as soon as I learned how to count and give change, I was behind the counter serving to the customers. So I suppose a similar thing where, you meet with people, you deal with people every day. So as you say, maybe you can tell different characters, interested in analysing people. But from analysing to actually studying this.
Yes.
Where did you study? Where did you get your diploma?
I studied, that's right. I got all my diplomas, also London and predominantly Copenhagen, because I lived in Denmark for about 13 years in Copenhagen, and I speak the lingo as well. And what I loved about Scandinavia was the totally different way of thinking they had to what I was used to, both in London and the South European mentality. Because again, I also lived in Spain when I was younger, and Spanish mentality is similar to Sivri. The South Europeans are very, very similar in many ways, actually, more relaxed. And I think it's to do with the heat and the culture as well, actually. But the North Europeans are very different, very systematic in their thinking, very logical, very rational. And I like that way of thinking. And that's why I like being in Scandinavia, because being there changed me as a man and a human being, but especially as a man, with my ideas of masculinity and how it was to be a man and what I expected from myself and of the people around me. And I think the Scandinavians have got life sorted very, very well.
I've heard from other people, go and live in Denmark, the happiest place to be in the world.
Yeah.
It looks like a place where, as you say, system, very good. Very different to maybe the Turkish Cypriot lifestyle, or even living here in North Cyprus, where there isn't really a very good system compared to other European countries.
True.
So, so maybe you are now a well-balanced person.
Thank you.
You've seen both sides.
Exactly. And that also helps in my job. Why? Because nothing phases me and nothing surprises me. I hear a lot from people who have problems at work, problems in their relationships, problems with life, stress, depression. And I think when you've seen a broad spectrum of people as well yourself, because one thing is studying something, because then you understand the psychology of it, literally why people think like that, the way the mind works, the perceptions, the complexes, the brain chemicals. But another thing is experience yourself, which actually makes you the psychotherapist or psychologist, because you've got to convey a message. It's like you're very good at what you do. I listen to you a lot, actually, and watch you a lot. And again, as you said, maybe it's your background, meeting a lot of people and speaking naturally, it becomes innate. And you have that ability, I know that. And I think I have it as well, being able to speak to people and connect to people. But I think that comes from my broad spectrum of where I've lived, what I've done, the cultures I've met, and that comes out in my work as well. Because I never judge, I'm never judgmental. I can't be in my job, but still you're a human being as a psychotherapist. And I think some therapists that I've met, you have good and bad in everything, don't you? They try to get their own views across. I never do that. I look at the person as an individual and try to help them based on what I've learned study-wise and life-wise. And I always help people. And I've never had a case where I thought I can't help this person. I always try and help everyone, always.
That's a really good thing. I mean, to help somebody, it's a very, obviously, a burden on your shoulders, because people come to you at that last minute, say, please help me. Because normally, don't you agree that people come to you when they're in need?
Absolutely.
When we're happy, when we're okay, and everything's going fine in our lives, we don't think to turn around to Sivri and say, everything's going fine, by the way, Sivri. It's not that, is it? It's when we're down and we need Sivri's help that we come and knock on your door.
That's very true. And recently I've had a few new cases as well where a couple of people, one suffering from depression, and sadly he's even said to me, I've contemplated suicide, which is very sad when you hear that. And I've heard that a few times in my life, because although I'm quite upbeat as a person and try to be quite positive and present myself in a certain way, the subject matter most of the time when I work with people is quite serious. I always try to put a positive slant on everything I do with people to try and get them to think differently. But some of the subject matter is really serious. People have talked of suicide, about people crying, can't sleep at night, can't eat because of relationship issues and problems in their lives. And I've worked with a lot of that. And as I said, the subject matter might be serious, but I put my take on it. I want people to feel comfortable with me, because as I mentioned earlier with Denise, they're opening up to me, telling me their deepest secrets, you know, things they may have not told another human being on the planet. So I've got to instill that trust in them. And that's when the relationship works, because when someone trusts you implicitly, 100%, they'll listen to you, they'll respect what you say.
Yeah. I have to say, I mean, you know, going off the subject a bit,
sure.
You're very presentable, very, you've got a great manner. Or was it the bedside manner they say to doctors? You know,
that's right.
And I knew, and I know that you're always smart.
Thank you.
It's hot out there.
Thank
I'm
you.
very down to earth, and even my interviews, most of the time I'm in jeans or trousers with a shirt, and most of the time with a button-up shirt. And today, I have to admit, I was debating in the morning, thinking, should I wear a shirt, and the least a shirt, because Divvy's going to come in with a suit. And I said, it's too hot. Sorry, Sivri.
It's all right.
I couldn't get into that shirt today. So the most you got is a collared t-shirt.
Right.
But you actually do have that good manner.
Thank you.
Which obviously makes you, you know, very successful psychotherapist, because if you trust that person, you can open up and you get people coming back to you and saying, you know, I want to talk to you. Because one thing I noticed, if people don't trust or don't believe in that psychotherapist, they won't go back again, will they?
That's very true.
They'll go out and say, oh, you know, I didn't agree with what he said, or I don't, you know, just mumbo jumbo, or he wasn't sincere enough, so that's it, and I won't go back.
That's very true, because I said the important thing is studying psychology is one thing, because you've got all the background of it, and you've got, as I said, thinking patterns and how the brain works, etc., etc., etc. That's one side. But ultimately, my job's about getting a message across. So if I'm not a good communicator, or if people don't buy into what I'm saying, then it doesn't work. So it's like that with everything, you know, politics as well, even, or even presenting or whatever. Everyone's got their own style, but you've got to be believable. Otherwise, as you said, people don't come back. They don't believe you, or they feel that this person was insincere, so I don't want to speak to him. He didn't really understand me. So that's why I always try to present a certain image, because as you said, a doctor has a bedside manner. A psychologist must have a manner where he can relate to, empathise, sympathise, and communicate. Ultimately, if I'm honest with you, the moment a person sits down, within a minute or two, I've already worked them out. I can work out just by looking at their eyes, or the type of words they use, or their body language even, what they're suffering from and what's affecting them, and what I need to do to fix them. Because as you said, a lot of people come when they're broken, or they need advice, you know. As you said, majority of the time, people, when they're very happy in life, don't think of seeing someone like me. But couples, you know, I experience that a lot. Maybe one wants to come and the other doesn't want to come, so that becomes a battle. So the one who thinks we should see a therapist may or may not win, but everyone who needs to see someone should come, because advice is actually the most important thing in life. That's where we grow as individuals.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not anything, I know, I mean, in America, in the UK, like there's a chemist or doctors everywhere, they call it, there's a psychotherapist or a life coach.
Absolutely.
Now. They call them life coaches even.
Absolutely.
And I know people here who are going to psychotherapists or going to psychologists now for advice. And it's not a taboo subject anymore.
That's
it's not like, oh, they're crazy or they can't cope with life. It's actually something that maybe we should all do as regularly as going to the dentist or going to have a checkup.
Exactly.
Really, have a mental checkup.
True. Yeah, it's a good point. And what I did as well, apart from the actual psychology, counselling psychology and the therapy side, studying that to a high level, I also did many other diplomas, you know, with NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, how the mind works in that way. Life coaching as well, you know, on another level, how to help people. So I've done other things, because sometimes people want to come and have some therapy or counselling, but they don't want to call it therapy. They'll call it coaching or counselling, because for them, therapy equates to something negative, whereas coaching equates to something positive, like you're getting help, but in another way. So also what I do is, you know, as a performance coach or motivational coach, I use like positive psychology to help people to promote, you know, themselves in work or sport or anything. But again, you use the same kind of tools, but you use maybe different words. If you want to see someone, you say, I'm going to see my coach, my motivational coach or life coach. It sounds better than my therapist, because therapists might still have a negative connotation to it for a lot of people, a lot of people.
and that's natural. That's
True.
That's the label that comes with
absolutely.
your profession. So the last time you were here,
yes,
a year and a half ago, we were talking about your very first book in a series of books that you're writing, and you're an author now, and we have The Secrets of, and then you've got different titles, and you're here today to promote The Secrets of Love and Attraction. Love, I know, as you do listen to the radio, I'm sure you know our DJ Zell, she's a romantic girl, she's always giving out love quotes, so I'm sure she'll be interested in listening to this interview. But
okay.
Love is something that everyone's about. But before we talk about this book,
sure,
tell us a little bit about your background in writing. I mean, when did you decide that you wanted to share your knowledge with the world and write a book or a series of books?
Yes, thank you, Jan. Good question. Well, as I mentioned earlier, actually, I was talking about poetry just earlier, and I started out writing a lot of poems when I was younger and short stories. Poems, I think, is a great way to get in touch with your feelings and to express what's inside you. And again, it might not be typical for people of our culture. I grew up in a rough old area in East London. I played football, I did a lot of training and things like that, boxing, etc. So I kept the poetry side quiet from my friends, put it that way. But that was a good way to start writing. And then, I had a flair for it. And actually, at school for O-level and A-level, I also did English literature. So I studied the classics as well. And, I really understood a lot about writing styles. And it helped me to understand writers and their way of thinking. So later on in my life, of course, I thought, all this knowledge I've gained from psychology and helping people, how do I actually reach a wider audience? With therapy, normally it's one-on-one, whether it's on the phone or face-to-face. But with a book, you can reach the whole world today. So I wanted to try and send positive messages of help and hope and reach as many people as I could. So I thought the best way is through books. And it came very natural to me to write. When I first met you a year and a half ago, that was my first book, but I'd already sort of penned and planned other books. I remember I said to you, I think in the interview, I want to write 10 books.
Yes.
And
you were already writing this book as well at that point. I remember I was waiting for the day that you were going to come and say to me the book's ready, so I'm so glad you did.
My pleasure. So as I said, I've written a few books and I'm working on another book as well at the moment, because I think that's the way people can just sit and digest a book. They can read things again and again. I had someone earlier say to me, Denise actually, that her son read my book a couple of times, because sometimes something resonates with you, or a chapter or a part of a book that you can look at again and again, and that's the beauty of a book. Sometimes with therapy, people maybe the next week forget what you've told them, or they revert back to their old patterns of thinking. Yeah. But through a book, they can read it again and again.
Remind themselves.
Exactly. So for me, I actually started writing seriously about 5 years ago, different outlines for books. And that was the way forward for me, I thought, with helping as many people as possible.
Can you remind us of the name of the first book that you gave us when you came to promote the book a year and a half ago? It was The Secrets of?
Existence and Fulfillment. Right.
And that's the book that Denise's son Jack read twice.
Yes.
I remember that, that book. I read that book.
Yes.
You gave it to us after the interview, like today as well.
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you're using cases that you've dealt with yourself, obviously changing the names so that you're not actually revealing anyone's real
personality, character.
Keeping client confidentiality there.
Absolutely.
At the utmost. But you are, giving case studies.
Exactly.
And I read it and I found it very interesting.
Thank you.
And I think the way that it's presented is, people can relate to it and say, well, actually, I'm going through that.
Exactly.
Or I feel this.
Exactly.
Instead of just reading, writing about, if you do this, you do this, and if you have that, you do that. That can be quite clinical, very formal. Whereas when you're writing this, again, it's quite, not textbookish, but it's very, very easy to follow, but in a way that can relate to the reader.
Exactly.
So you definitely connect again there as well. A unique way of, it isn't just you pouring out your own thoughts about, well, I had this client or this patient.
Exactly.
And is that how you are setting out all the books?
Yeah, very good, because, again, excellent question, because for me, I didn't want it to come across as I'm preaching to someone.
Yeah.
This is what you have to do, like, hallelujah, this is the way forward, everybody. I didn't want to be a preacher. But at the same time, I thought, how do you connect to people? I want it to sound like a therapist, but also like your best friend giving you great advice. So that's the tone I try to set in my books. And also what I found is that with case studies, people can relate to it because they think, oh yeah, that person, that sounds like me, or I'm going through the same thing, or I can relate to that. And I think for a lot of people, what I've found in my job is when people are suffering something, they think it's only them. They think it's a unique situation for them. And sometimes they feel embarrassed opening up to people because they think, will he think I'm crazy? Or is it normal to think like this? And I think when people open up to you and they can see through therapy, of course, or they can read that other people have something very similar, it resonates with them, it touches a chord in them, and they can open up and communicate on a much higher level with you, you know, either with themselves, with another therapist, or with me. But when they see there are other case studies, there are people like that in the world, it's easy for them to relate to the problems they've got, rather than close in and think, I'm suffering and there's something wrong with me.
I'm alone, yeah.
I'm alone, exactly, exactly. And that's why I use case studies in my books.
Love and attraction, I mean, love is the be all and end all of everything in life, isn't it, I think? I mean, forget about being rich, forget about being successful. I think everyone, I mean, humans, or all living animals, the whole idea is that you find your soulmate and basically you go make more of yourselves, copies of yourselves. Exactly. That's the whole idea, that's how the human race continues. So love, for us, is a very complex thing for human beings. And, you know, some people are lucky. They might find love at a very early age with the first person they meet. It could be a high school sweetheart.
Absolutely. And
they go on and live a very long life together without having to go through all these horrible first dates or bad relationships. But for other people, it could be the worst, or more difficult, should I say, not worse, but it could be one bad relationship after another, or making mistake after mistake. What do you think, is there a magic potion or a magic solution to love and attraction? How do you see this book? Is this the answer? Can anyone pick it up and say, I'm going to find the right answer to my love problems? Or is it a guidance? Is it, if you're having problems, maybe you should do this, change your way of looking at life? Exactly,
yeah, again, another really interesting question. For me, I did write as a sort of guidance for people, rather than just a sort of a mystical type love and attraction type thing that people think, you know, it's a mysterious element to it. And there is, of course, because poems are written about love and songs are written about love. And maybe love as a subject is best left for poets because they write from the heart. A psychologist like me looks at it as a form of obsessive compulsive behavior, because that's what love really is. You obsess over someone, you have compulsive desires to repeat the same actions, I see them and do things. So it's similar to that, but of course with a book like this, you know, it has to sound and be something that is more romantic, really, not so psychological. And for me, sort of writing this book was to enable people to see how they should be in a relationship. What is a good relationship? What is actually love? Because for different people it means different things. For you it might mean something different than me and everybody else, but it's just one little 4-letter word that is supposed to represent the same meaning for everyone, but it doesn't. So for some people it means more of an abusive relationship or a controlling relationship, or an idea that someone's going to come up, whisk me off my feet and save me. And it might not always be that. It's more about having a partnership with someone and being in the right frame of mind and state of mind to meet someone and to have a union with them to achieve something. A lot of people just lollop into a relationship and they don't know what they want. They don't know what a relationship is. They like the look of someone, but that's it. They don't know themselves how to be with another human being. And also how attraction works. Why are you attracted to a certain person? What is it about their chemistry? Denise asked me about scent and pheromones, and if we are attracted because of scent to people. And we are on a more primitive level, but once we meet people, you know, a lot of the times our natural smells are hidden anyway with perfumes and different things that are designed to attract people anyway. But once we meet someone, you see, something has to click in our brain. We've got to want to see that person again and again. And that's what attraction is. You know, if you line up 10 people, what is it about this person and not the other 9 that you're drawn to?
Yeah.
And that's what I touch on in my book.
Love can be sometimes, you know, over romanticized. I mean, you know, oh, love should be like how the poets write about it, or how it is in songs that we play on the radio all the time, all the love songs.
Exactly.
Or, you know, it should be flowers and hearts and balloons, and you know, for the women he should be, you know, with me 24 hours and say that he's loved me. But obviously, real life isn't like that. Once the honeymoon period is over, it isn't always about, you know, if he's not giving me flowers or not texting me 24/7. That means he doesn't love me, but it's not like that, is it?
Exactly.
You go into a certain, you know, obviously there must be different stages of a relationship as well.
There are.
When, you know,
there are.
That physical attraction at the beginning is what attracts you to that person, and then after that it should be a more stable thing. But why is it that some people make the same mistake in the type of person they're attracted to? For instance, I know that, you know, my niece, I'm not going to give her name, but my niece is attracted to a certain type, but in the end it's the wrong type maybe. But again, it's that type of person. Why? How can we break? Can you, in this book, is there a magical thing that you say that says he is out to break that pattern because you're actually making a mistake, not them?
Absolutely.
You're making the mistake of choosing that same person, and in the end, maybe you know that your heart will get broken.
Absolutely. Some people are addicted to problematic relationships, you see. There is, in the book I touch on that, and as I mentioned, towards the end I give you an in-depth guide to actually what could be wrong in your relationship, or your idea of a relationship, and maybe how you get out of that, and how you break these patterns of thinking and patterns of behavior, because that's what they are, patterns. Once you do something once, it's a one-off, twice maybe, but after 2 times it becomes a pattern. You know, you meet the wrong types, you're attracted to the wrong types, you know, and let's say the person you mentioned there, your niece, you know, a lot of people have a type, but if you think after 10 times it hasn't worked out, you have to analyse, is this the right type for me? You know, as I said, you know, looking for love in the wrong places. That's what people do on a psychological level. You've got to analyse who you are first and who best fits you. And I think as we get older, as you said, some people are lucky, they meet someone at high school sweethearts, they say together. Other people go through many relationships, broken hearts, and you know, divorces and breakups, and then they try again, but they tend to repeat the same pattern. They go for a very similar type. Sometimes we're attracted to people that we actually want to change, who they might have something that we don't, which we find attractive at the start, but human nature dictates we want to try and change people. We always want something we can't have, and once we have it, we try to change it. And that's a big problem in relationships, because when you think, if you're attracted to someone in the first place, why are you trying to change it? The person or the behavior? Because once you've changed it, you're not attracted to that person anymore, because they've changed and you've changed them. So people need to sort of understand, as you said, what is it about me that needs fixing? Because you can't change other people in the world, you can only change yourself. And with a book like my latest book, I'm trying to help people understand what relationships are, why they think the way they do, why they're attracted to the people they're attracted to, what habits they need to break, what habits they need to strengthen in their minds to create a better relationship.
Are you aiming these books for a wide age range? I mean, you know, there could be somebody out there who is in their mid-40s, let's say, single still, looking for Mr. or Mrs. Right. Is it too late for them, or is there love for everyone out there, whatever age? I mean, because, you know, when we talk about love in particular in this book, because I know that your next book is about careers.
Correct.
Which is, again, obviously at a certain age.
Correct.
Because obviously people who are retired don't care about careers anymore.
Very true.
But, is this book in particular for everyone out there who are just wanting to know more about human relationships, and especially at that romantic level? Absolutely,
yes. Also, another thing about the book, I do touch on why we're connected to people, how we have empathy and sympathy. So it's connected also to people on a deeper level, you know, humanity type level. What is it that attracts us to different people, and why? Not just romantically, but maybe friendship or platonic type relationships as well. So I touch on that also in the book. But, you know, to answer your question, when it comes to love, maybe you could say from 16 to whatever age, or even younger than 16 these days, it affects everybody. There's a brilliant, as you asked the question, I was thinking there's a brilliant program in England called First Dates. And if you ever watch that, you see lots of people, all different ages, going on a first date. And a lot of them are quite old, actually, in their 50s, well, old, you know, not 50s are old, but in their 60s and 70s, trying to rekindle love again. And I've seen people in their 80s go on a first date as well. It's quite funny.
So it's never too late.
Never too late to answer your question. Never too late.
Even if you think that you're past it,
That's
or you know,
right.
you're stuck at home, it's never too late to find love.
Never too late, of course.
I mean, at the end of the day, even if you have a few bad relationships, can you not learn from each relationship? And if you're taking something good out of something bad, surely that will help you in the next time. Obviously, you don't want to carry baggage from one relationship to another.
Absolutely.
But if you want to make something bad turn into something good, can you then also say in your book, well, you know, learn from this, learn from that mistake, you did it, it was right at the time for you, but move on and look forward to something better.
Better. Again, I've worked with people who've been in denial. When a relationship breaks up, they say it was my husband's fault. He did this to me. Or it's my wife's fault. She never did this, that, the other. And they keep passing the buck. They keep living in denial and they keep pushing the blame to other people. So I think it's very important then, you know, if you want something to work out, you really have to be ready yourself for a relationship on what love is, and you have to work out who you are as a person and what you bring to the table. And if things don't work out, you've got to learn what you did wrong, because as I just said before, Jan, you can't change other people. And if you've split up from them, then your ex, you should get them out of your mind, move on, and try to work out what was it about that particular relationship that didn't work for you. Some people get scared and think, well, the next guy I meet is going to be like that, or the next woman, and they get withdrawn. They don't realise it was that particular relationship. Sometimes it's just two people who are not meant to be, wrong time, wrong place, wrong whatever, that attracts them, doesn't work out. Instead of saying, look, this was that relationship, not every man is like that, not every woman's like that. A lot of people think then, all men are like this, or all women are like this. And they get scared, or they think, no, I never want to get married again, or I never want to meet anyone again. Which is sad, because we're only here once. It's an old cliche, you're only here once, but in that life you've got to be as happy as possible. And part of that, we're social creatures. We're designed to be with other people, both on a romantic level and a social level. And you're just denying yourself of something if you say, I never want to be with someone else ever again. And
I was about to ask you, interestingly enough, I was about to say, but is there a point where people can say, well, do I have to be in a relationship? Do I have to have do I have to know the secrets of love and attraction? Why can't I be happy by myself? Obviously, there might be a time when, you know, I know Denise was saying to you on the radio, I mean, giving away her age now, she's 60, but, you know, Denise has got 2 grown-up kids, you know, she might be a grandmother soon. Maybe she might just have friendships that fulfill her, but maybe, does she have to find love at 60? And if she does, is it wrong? It's not wrong.
No, that's
you know, is that another thing that you can deal with in this thing? Do we have to be? Some people are afraid of being alone. Some people don't want to be alone and just go into a relationship for the sake of not being alone.
Absolutely, very good point. Again, I mean, with someone like Denise, if she's genuinely fulfilled in her life, to answer your question directly, no, she doesn't need someone. And as I said, actually, in my interview with her, that other person should complement you in your life, should bring out the best in you and bring something to the table that you might lack or you might want or need. Maybe physical, maybe emotional, maybe psychological. So we don't need people in our lives, no, if we're genuinely fulfilled. But as I said just before, we are social creatures. We're designed to be with other people. Maybe people who've become so self-reliant and self-sufficient have put a slight barrier or distance and have convinced themselves they're really happy, so they don't get hurt, or they don't feel they need to look for other people. Or it could be they know they won't really find someone for them, so they stop looking and stop trying because it's the same old faces in the same old places, so they just kind of keep their distance and create a happier existence for themselves.
Sometimes they say, you know, if you're trying too hard to look for love, it doesn't work out. And then when you least expect it, when you're not looking at the different time, I mean, let me tell you about my personal experience. I met my wife on a blind date. I could have been on that first date thing.
Wow.
A mutual friend of ours said, you know, there's somebody that I know who I think you'll get on with. And I said, okay, then we both didn't really want to. And it was a very forced unnatural setting. He was the instigator. We came like a threesome meal. He left us to chat, and it was a really bad first date. It was like, all right then. And but then we made it a second date together, and it came from there. And now she's my wife. We've got a lovely family together.
Great.
But it works differently for different people. And sometimes, maybe you shouldn't just try hard. Maybe it could be, maybe go on that date and you never know, it might be that right person. Or maybe go to a different bar, or go to the cinema with a friend. You might meet somebody. You don't know, do you?
Absolutely. Serendipity is the word, when things happen by chance.
Yeah.
It's interesting, I was listening and smiling as you said that, because I met Michelle, my missus, on a blind date as well. We were set up by someone as well, quite randomly. And what happened is, you think if I didn't go to that place or I didn't meet that person, then she wouldn't have introduced me to a friend and blah, blah. So it's like you've pushed the first domino over and they all topple over and go over. And it's pure chance half the time. And what I've noticed in my life, working with people, and especially when it comes to relationships, most relationships just happen purely by chance. Serendipity, nobody plans it. Even.
All of a sudden.
All of a sudden, absolutely, and their world or life gets turned upside down.
Definitely. I agree with that.
Hopefully for the better, of course, but...
Yeah, okay, it's a very idealised thing that we're saying here. Maybe it might not work out. You might have a first date and it could be completely disastrous. You never want to see that person again.
Of course.
But, it could be the right person for you. And luckily for you and me, it was the right people that we met up with in the end on that date.
Exactly.
But, there's lots, love is a topic we can talk about for about 5 different interviews.
Absolutely.
It can go on and on because, it's just so much. But in this book, again, you've got case studies.
Yes.
I read the first book and I'm looking forward to reading this book as well.
My pleasure.
You don't need to be in a bad relationship, or you don't need to be unhappy to read this book. Just learn from it. It is very sort of like, you can delve in and delve out.
Correct. I wrote it for couples as well, by the way, because as I say at the start, even if you're in a really well-functioning relationship, this book might provide you with some ideas and new inspirations to think of your relationship and move it even up another level, a higher level, a more optimal level.
Fantastic.
So it's designed for everyone, from the singletons to the people who say they're happy and who are happy. So all the nuances of people, as you said, from whatever age to whatever age, whatever stage of life, this is the book to read.
So this is the next book in the series of The Secrets of, and the last time we met was actually at your book launching for the first book, which was at the bestseller bookshop in Karakum in Guinea.
That's right.
And are you going to be having a book launch for this one later on?
Yes, I will be, exactly, and you're invited. You and Denise are invited.
Thank you.
And all the other DJs here who we've met have been so nice to us. They're invited as well. So definitely we'll have a book launch for this one, and we'll give everybody a copy. Okay,
so look out for the book launch in the very near future. Again, probably at the Karakum branch of the bestsellers.
Yeah, that's correct.
And you are writing still as we speak.
That's correct.
Your next book. And I heard that you are talking about careers in the next book.
Correct. The next one's going to be called The Secrets of Unlocking Your Career Potential. And again, there I look at personality types, because a lot of people end up in careers and lifestyles that they're really not suited to and for. And it's designed both for an individual and for companies, how to work out people's characters and see if they're the best fit for the job and for the role. Because a lot of time and money's wasted where people are taken onto a job and trained to do something that's not naturally them or they're capable of doing. So I've focused more on careers for the next book, because again, a lot of people that I know and work with, they want to maybe change careers or move in another direction and just need some help in that way.
And as you said before, you get one life, you should be happy, and you could be stuck in a job that you don't like.
Absolutely.
Luckily, I found this job and I'm very, very happy with my job.
I'm
and
happy.
You're very happy with your career. But again, I mean, with love, with career, with life, you only get one life, live it.
Exactly.
I sound like DJ Zell, don't I now? Zell should be very proud of me. I listen to it, you see, on the radio as well.
Oh, yeah, same here.
All her quotes are in my head as well. But no, seriously, on a serious note, I mean, all the things that are cliches are true. That's why they're cliches, because that's what life is about. So I'm looking forward to the next book as well then, Sivri. You're a very, very busy man.
Thank you, yeah.
And I know that we can get the books at the bestseller bookshop, can't we? And also it's online on Amazon.
Correct. Amazon UK, Amazon US, and actually all the Amazon sites worldwide. So if you click on wherever you are in the world, and you can click up DU Sivri or The Secrets of books, You'll see all my books up there. I've got 6 now. I'm working on the 7th one. And as I said, minimum 10. I plan to write 10 in this series on all different areas of life. You know, one or two are a bit more spiritual. One or two help people with things like confidence issues. To find calmness and inner peace, how to, if people can't sleep or they're worried or stressed, how to deal with these different areas of their lives. So I've looked at some main areas psychologically and written books about them. And I aim to help as many people as I can, wherever in the world they may be, here, UK, US, Far East. That's my aim.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to end the interview now by saying thank you very much for coming in today to the studio. Thank you to Michelle as well, to your partner, for contacting us via email. And I know that I don't know your full name, and you never revealed it. And I know that you want to remain enigmatic with D.U. Sivri, so that people who see you online don't know if you're a man or a woman writing this. But obviously, those who watch you now on this program, they know that they know it's a man. But D.U. Sivri, your book, The Secrets of Love and Attraction, out now. Please get the book. Please get the book online, or go to the bestseller bookshop, and we look forward to the launch of the book and your book signing soon. Thank you for coming in, sharing all your wonderful knowledge.
My pleasure.
And I hope that you have a good time writing your book here in North Cyprus.
Thank you.
I know you're back and forth to the UK, based here mainly now.
Yes.
But good luck with the next book in the series. We look forward to promoting that next time you're here.
Thank you so much. Absolute pleasure as always to see you, Jan, and to have some very, very interesting discussions with you. I very much look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, thank you very much, and take care. See you soon.
You too. Take care. See you soon, Jan.
And with that, we come to the end of another Cup of Conversation with a very interesting D.U. Sivri this week. Get the book and learn more about love and about life as well. You get one life, live it, as they say, and live it with BRTK and, of course, with Brighton National Radio as well. Tune in on 87.8, 105 FM and online for our TV and radio broadcasts on brtk.net. And for the next time we are here in the studios of BRTK in Lefkosha, take care, go well, and bye-bye.
Bye.